Welcome back guys to another video. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share this video. Let's get started. Chapter 3 Circe's dinner. The group arrived and took their seats, some more eager than others to accept free food and shelter for the night, though some like Logan and Panther Lily were very suspicious, almost as if this was one of those heartwarming moments you see in a movie or find in a book. Then you learn that the host of the dinner is a cannibal or satanic worshipper. For now, those theories were far-fetched, but that didn't mean Circe was already trustworthy. Welcome all, it's been a while since I've had guests, so I hope you all enjoy your stay, Circe said in a friendly manner. Thank you, Miss Circe, Wendy said happily, trusting the woman. You are welcome, my little piglet, Circe said gratefully. The pink-haired woman reached Wendy's head, hoping to give the adorable little girl a little pat on the head, only to find Naruto's hand grabbing her. Circe looked surprised but didn't feel hurt or hostile. For some reason Naruto grabbed her, but it appeared to be out of reflex, yet there was no sign of hostility. Sorry about that. I guess I get nervous around pretty girls, Naruto said as he gently removed his hand. The grab was out of reflex, but Naruto managed to stop his hand, as if it were alive, which kind of confused him since he thinks that as a human, his whole body is alive. Was that instinct? Naruto mentally asked himself. Answer: the instinct you felt is actually a part of the passive skill, spider sense. Any and all negative intention directed at you will be immediately detected, Great Sage said to him. So I can tell who's good or bad? Naruto mentally asked. Answer: morality will not be taken into account. By restraining the creature known as Kuwabai no Yoko, you have mixed its sensory with your instinct as a spider. You will only detect negativity and only react towards danger, Great Sage answered. As Naruto communicated with Great Sage, Circe couldn't help but blush at the compliment. Such a sweet comment. Though I wish older men had the same, Circe said out of appreciation. With that, everyone started digging into their food, but not without a few people looking cautious. Like Logan subtly smelling his food as he had the nose of a hound, Kurt took a bit longer to prepare, and Panther Lily pretended to drop his fork twice. Meanwhile Naruto extended his arm and revealed a sort of black limb that moved between Logan and Panther Lily. The food's great. I trust her completely, Naruto said from his side. Meanwhile the limb turned into a mouth. I don't trust her, the voice of Naruto whispered. I feel so happy, Naruto said. I feel so anxious, the voice said. I feel like there is nothing wrong, Naruto said. I feel like something is very wrong, the voice said. Then how do you really feel? Panther Lily asked while trying to keep under a whisper. The mouth briefly moved up the table almost as if it could peek. I seriously can't feel anything wrong, but I got this weird sense of danger, he said. Logan nodded. I know, smelling and tasting the food was a big risk. It's fine, but I felt like she put something. Not something extreme like poison, but something is in there, he said, relying on his healing factor to save him if anything happens. Then Circe appeared. Something wrong, boys? She asked as the mouth slid back towards Naruto. Nothing, just admiring the cooking and the company, Panther Lily said while trying to hide his sweat. The dwarves nodded. I haven't had a decent meal like this in a long time, Kaijin said happily. It sure is. If getting fired meant fine dining, I would have screwed up a long time ago, Garm said, also sounding happy. Couldn't say it better myself, Dord added. Myrd just nodded in silence while giving a thumbs up. Say something, Naruto exclaimed, only to be ignored. Circe giggled. I appreciate your comments. I'm sure you will be more than happy to feel rejuvenated with the nutrients in my food, little piglets, she said. Naruto flashed his toothy grin as to hide the giant throbbing vein on his forehead, his spider sense screaming at the top of its lungs if it had any. The problem being that he didn't know if Circe was about to do something or if she's responsible for something about to happen. After having his conversation with Great Sage, he knew that his skill could literally go off at any moment so long as it meant danger was here. More please and thank you, Wendy said as Circe smiled. Anything for you, my little piglet, Circe said with a sweet sickly smile. Before anyone realized it, Dord started to panic. Everyone stood up as they noticed the dwarf grew hooves, a snout, and a spring-shaped tail. In a matter of moments, Dord squealed and turned into a pig, with Kaijin and his brothers following suit. Logan snarled as 3 metallic claws came out of both of his knuckles. He then turned to Circe with an angry face. What is this, lady? he demanded to know. Circe giggled. Nothing, just feeding my piglets. You are what you eat after all, she said, pretending that nothing wrong was going on. Kurt teleported away as Logan ran after Circe, only to turn into a pig as well, with most of the group doing the same. Even Wendy panicked as she turned into a real piglet. Big brother! Wendy cried out, only to see Naruto's symbiote going off. Naruto panicked as he transformed while forcing his symbiote form to combat the transformation. In the end, the transformation was mostly a success, as Naruto turned pitch black with white armor like patches around his body similar to armor and two big tusks sticking out. Naruto's eyes were completely white and in a unique shape similar to his regular symbiote form. Skill, Transformation Barbadusk has been acquired. Great Sage said as Naruto snarled at Circe. Circe's eyes shrunk into a pair of dots. Oh, not good. Not a piglet I want, she said as Naruto charged at her. Circe spread her wings and hovered above him. I think it's time for you to be disciplined, she said as she summons a staff to her side, only for Kurt to teleport behind her. Sorry if I get handsy, madam, he said as he grabbed her from behind. Let go? Get your hands off of me, Circe said before finding a black web on her chest. Get over here, Naruto shouted as he pulled her down. As this went on, more pigs appeared and started tearing up the place. Everyone realized that Circe may have done this before to many other people, further confirming the suspicions of everyone who was hesitant to accept Circe's seemingly gracious offer, including Panther Lily and Logan, who were very against the idea and were very angry that they were turned into pigs. Except it seemed that these pigs were only willing to listen to Circe and saw the group as hostiles. Attack my piglets? Your queen is in danger, Circe cried out as Naruto kept pulling her down. Suddenly more pigs appeared and were charged at everyone, causing most of them to get crushed by the stampede they had created. Logan snarled as being a pig was humiliating and annoyed him to no end. Panther Lily felt the same and was unable to enter his combat form. Regardless, the Exceed grabbed his sword with his mouth in an attempt to fight while Logan already extended his claws again. I'm making barbecue ribs out of them, Logan yelled. Well, I'm making pork chops, Panther Lily yelled as the two would team up against the pigs. Some of the hobgoblins also got battle ready as they helped fight the pig army. Luckily they had better teamwork despite the loss of their true forms and battle capabilities. I heard of green eggs and ham, but no eggs and ham, Gobda asked. No times for jokes, Gobda, Rigur said before all the hobgoblins jumped into battle with Kurt and Naruto. Kurt tried to knock the witch out. Sorry milady, normally I am not the type to grab onto a lady, he said. Circe sneered. A gentleman willing to break his code is no gentleman at all, she said as she tried to break free of Kurt and Naruto. Kurt sighed. I suppose you are right. My convictions did not stop my reckless behavior, he said before trying to squeeze her shoulder. Ow, what was that for? Circe asked. Kurt's sweat dropped. I heard this would work in a novel, he said before Circe smacked him with her staff. Kurt hit the ground, allowing Circe to have more freedom. Despite Naruto hanging onto her with his webbing, Circe used all her magic and put them into her wings to extend them, before taking off into the sky with Naruto hanging onto her. Naruto screams as his pig form was still active. I'll save you, my friend, Kurt exclaims as he teleports after Naruto. Sadly for Naruto, while Circe wasn't able to move around much due to Naruto's heavy weight, that and Circe wasn't going to abandon her little base of operations. After all, she wanted to add more pigs to her collection. With Wendy whimpered as she hid behind the dwarves and a couple of hobgoblins. It was impossible to say how many pigs Circe had picked up, to say the least. These things kept coming despite how weak they were compared to Panther Lily and Logan. There is too much pork? Where the hell do you get so much pork? Logan asked as he kept cutting through the horde of pigs. Panther Lily started to pant. I don't know, maybe she breeds them, he suggests. Guys, if Circe turned us into pigs, doesn't that mean she might have turned others as well? Rigur asked. Logan growls. Now you tell me, he asked, realizing he may have killed a random person. Panther Lily also got mad. Damn it, Rigur, why didn't you say something earlier? He asked. Before Rigur could apologize, the many pigs that were surrounding them were all picked up in a giant tornado. Panther and Logan stabbed their blades into the ground as to hang on while their allies were hanging on to something that was nailed to the ground. Logan looked up to see Ororo was flying in the air and manipulating the power of nature itself. How are you human? Logan asked. Ororo laughed as she knew Logan would get mad at her answer. I took a long time to take small bites. So every time I wiped my mouth, I would hide the food in napkin, she explained. Logan muttered a few curses. And you were the most cautious one here, he said. Don't pout, Logan. Kurt also became suspicious. Ororo said as she unleashed her captured pigs and threw them at the rest of the pigs. It was rather hilarious considering the fact that Ororo made it look like she was throwing bowling balls as the other pigs collapsed like bowling pins. At least now Circe's army was starting to fall. As for Wendy, her body started to morph. I'm going to ask Great Sage to help me find a way to cure everyone, she said as her body was fighting between being a pig and a slime. Don't let up. There's still a few left. Gobta said as he prepared to defend Wendy. Hey, where's Naruto? Panther Lily asked. And Kurt? Weren't they chasing after Circe? Logan asked as he sniffed around, only to witness Naruto still hanging onto Circe while Kurt uses him like a wakeboard. Never mind, Logan said as he saw those two still chasing after Circe. With Kurt and Naruto, Kurt gently rubbed Naruto's head. I'm sorry for standing on you, my friend, he said. Forget it, just knock her down already, Naruto ordered. Kurt nodded as he teleported to Circe again. This time he started pulling her down before noticing something odd about her body, specifically her flight capabilities. Before Circe realized it, Kurt grabbed one of her wings with his tail and ripped it off. I knew these were fake, Kurt said as Circe lost control. Circe panicked as she started to descend rapidly before crashing into one of the buildings of her settlements. Kurt teleported off right on time before running in to find Naruto using all of his willpower to transform into his symbiote form. Although Kurt was rather unsettled by the sight of the creature that his new ally had transformed into. Naruto, what is this? Kurt asked nervously. I will explain later, Naruto said before another wave of pigs arrived. Circe twirled her staff around before slamming it onto the ground. I will deal with the crazy woman. You cover me by defeating those pigs, Naruto ordered. Kurt nodded. Right, I will be back shortly, he said as he engaged the pigs. Circe frowned. You ruined everything? Never have I met such ungrateful piglets. Haven't your parents taught you manners? She asked angrily, pointing her staff at Naruto. Naruto shook his head as his hand turned into an axe. I never knew my parents, he replied before lunging at Circe. Circe chose to ignore that depressing fact, then proceeded to fire beams of light at Naruto, who dodged them perfect before swiping at her. Circe blocked the axe but had issues as she lacked the strength to keep up with the pressure, causing her to fall on her back after Naruto repeatedly bashed his axe hand onto the staff. Circe grunted as she tried to crawl away backwards. As Naruto changed his hands into the shape of hammers, Circe managed to block 2 hits as she stood up before taking a hit to the gut that sent her crashing into a wall. Ow, don't you know it's rude to hit a lady? Circe asked angrily. Naruto snarled, I believe in everyone getting equal rights. It's hypocritical for one gender to get all the rights if the other gender loses it. Especially if you're the one who started the fight, he yelled as he sharpened teeth were revealed. Circe was frightened by the sight of the scary face Naruto's form made. So she lifted up her staff again and summoned a pig to launch at him. For some reason, it didn't hit Naruto like a projectile. Instead, it went straight into his mouth, which was wide open. Naruto's eyes briefly turned to normal. Did she just shove a pig in my mouth? He wondered. Circe's eyes were suddenly turned into dots as she was also surprised by what she did. You might want to chew that, she suggested. The two of them were silent for one moment. Then Naruto got angry. Konosuba ost, tendon. Naruto tried to pull out the pig, but for some reason it squealed and started running fast, to the point it was actually trying to lodge itself deeper into Naruto's mouth, leaving Naruto with no way to pull it out as the fat creature refused to let him pull it out. Circe for her part started tiptoeing away. However, her large wedges made it impossible to move without making a lot of sound, causing Naruto to realize that she was escaping as the pig went deeper into his mouth. That bitch, Naruto thought as he extended his hand into a strange vine-like shape. Instead of grabbing her, he accidentally hit her butt. Eep. Are you whipping me? Circe screamed with a red face, only to look fearful as Naruto forcefully chowed on the pig until it was finally down his throat and in his stomach. Naruto let out a loud burp as a pig carcass came out of his mouth. Circe slowly turned 180 degrees before sprinting like a maniac. Help! Monster! Circe screamed. Naruto ran after her while continuing to swipe at her. At the same time he kept hitting her in a way that made him very uncomfortable. The monster is whipping me, Circe yelled. I wouldn't be whipping you if just surrendered, Naruto yelled as he changed his hands into morning stars. Circe glared at Naruto. So rude, she yelled before Naruto slammed his spiked hand onto the ground. Circe screamed as the impact of the slam made the ground shake, causing her to fly into the air before Naruto webbed her up again. Circe started kicking and thrashing around as she tried to find a way to break free. Unfortunately, the moment she was bound to the web, she lost her grip of her staff. Goddess Hekate, save me now, Circe pleads towards the goddess of necromancy. Seeing no way to escape, Circe did her best to reach for an item she hid somewhere on her body. With enough effort, Circe dug a small hole in the webs and pulled out a golden cup filled with a strange poison. The witch then proceeded to dump all of its contents onto the floor just as Naruto dragged her towards him. Too late, Circe exclaimed as the liquid around them turned into a portal. What did you do? Naruto demanded as something came out of the portal. Circe smirked. Something that won't make Semiramis so special, she said as several demonic-looking creatures appeared from the portal. Naruto sighed. I don't have time for this. Rip out their throats, Baskerville, he yells as the demonic dog appeared. Circe's smirk remained the same, but she paled and started to sweat as all the eyes of Baskerville appeared, with the large dog snarling as it came out from the side of Naruto's body, before wrestling with the demonic beasts that Circe summoned, eventually overwhelming them into running back to their portal where Circe summoned them. Oh, you have dangerous familiars too? Circe asked. End of song. Circe laughed nervously. Today was a fun day. How about you untie me and I can present you with dessert, she asked. Naruto glared at Circe. You are going to be fixing everyone, he said angrily as Circe whimpered. Now let's go, he said, dragging her up to her feet. With everyone else, the last pig screamed as Logan kicked it away. We did it, Wendy exclaimed. Yeah, but that still leaves that witch who turned us into pigs, Panther Lily said. Luckily Kurt arrived just before Naruto did. Don't worry, we caught Miss Circe, Kurt said as Naruto raised the short woman high in the air. Good, now make her turn us back, Logan demanded. Circe looked away and didn't say or do anything, until Naruto started shaking her wildly until she became very dizzy. Once Circe's eyes stopped spinning, she took a deep breath and requested to be untied but wasn't free as Naruto kept a web restraint around her belly. I also need my staff, Circe said as Kurt teleported away, then reappeared with the staff. Here, no funny business, Kurt said, warning her. Circe nodded. After a few flashes of light, everyone who was a pig returned to normal whereas her other pigs had disappeared. Okay, I'm sorry for tricking you, but I'm literally temptation incarnate. What do you want me to do? Circe asked. Suddenly Naruto towered over her with an axe-shaped hand. How about learning to be a better person? He asked with a dark aura surrounding him. Stop, big brother. Circe learned her lesson and now it's time for us to leave, Wendy said as she returned to her adorable little self. Naruto sighed as he reverted to his human form as well. Fine, everyone pack up and take anything that Circe hasn't poisoned or laced with pig magic, he said. Circe pouted. So mean, I was a good host and now you're leaving after making a mess, she said. She sighed as she tugged on the web. Okay, have a safe trip, she said before being webbed up again. Don't think you're staying behind and doing this again, Naruto said as he lifted her into his arms. Circe blushed. She asked. Logan nodded. He's right, the lady is just going to keep doing this to people, he said. Wendy also understood. Circe won't learn if she keeps repeating her mistakes, she said. Circe looked scared. You're kidnapping me, she asked as Naruto placed web over her mouth. No, we're making a citizen's arrest, Naruto said before everyone got ready. Circe whimpered as she was carried away and taken back to the village. A few days later, Rigurd smiled as he saw people coming from the forest. Hello everyone. How was? He stopped as he noticed everyone's condition. We brought back some help and guests, Rigurd, Wendy answered happily. We also have a chef who promises not to turn anyone into pigs, Naruto said, glaring at Circe who felt nervous under his gaze. I said I was sorry, Circe whispered. Rigurd's sweat dropped. I see. Anyways, welcome to the village. I see we all have some work to do, he said as the dwarves looked happy and Logan's group looked ready to help. Then Wendy noticed something. Rigurd, did we have so many goblins in the village before we left? She asked as she noticed the large amount of goblins behind Rigurd. Rigurd chuckled as he started flexing. Oh yeah, I was going to mention that while you were all gone, many others have heard of the greatness of Lady Wendy and Lord Naruto. Now they wish to join our settlement as well, he said with pride. Naruto's sweat dropped. We are not going to be able to handle this many goblins, he thought. How many want to join us, Dad? Rigurd asked. About 500 or so, Rigurd answered, not caring about population control. Wendy, I don't think. Naruto tried to say something when Wendy spoke up. Everyone get into a single line, please, Wendy said, preparing to name everyone. A few months later, once again, Wendy was forced into resting 3 days again from naming all the new goblins. At least now, with all the extra hands and need for homes, the village, now named Tempest, was officially rebuilding with new huts as homes. Naruto used a lot of chakra to make clones to add to the labor force and studied alongside some of the goblins who were listening to Kaijin and the brothers, all of them teaching skills ranging from blacksmithing to building construction. Aside from a few more homes and roads being built, clothes were also being made. They weren't exactly luxurious like they were in some royal capital, but everyone can stay cool and warm. Although it's revealed that the symbiote that Naruto became can let him mimic clothes, the Jinchuriki doesn't exactly feel comfortable as it made him feel naked. So Naruto was first in line to request clothes after explicitly explaining his distaste for running around naked. On to some other news. Queen Shagot's child, now named Carla, was hanging around Wendy. Apparently the little Exceed developed the ability to transform into a human with cat ears and a tail. Most likely a new ability among others, thanks to Wendy naming her like she did the other goblins. That, and apparently she thought it was her mission to eliminate dragon slayers, which almost made Naruto sick Baskerville on her. Ironically, this was brought up by Queen Shagota, who explained that little detail she conveniently forgot to mention as she wasn't aware that Wendy was a dragon slayer until she mentioned it. The explanation itself, it was a lie, Queen Shagota said that day. Apparently everyone came from a place called Edelas, where despite what the queen and the elderly advisors told everyone, the Exceeds altogether are very weak despite having magic. Mainly because unless you're Panther Lily or have similar abilities as him, Exceeds lack any real strength, and their only magic is arrow wind magic that basically lets them fly around, and that was it. They can carry one person at a time, and some know how to wave swords, but still lack real combat abilities. So Queen Shagota sent a lot of unborn Exceeds to the other realm, they assumed to be on this continent, in case humans from Edelas decided to fight back. As most humans praise Exceeds, but knew someday that they could just fight back and likely win. So it was less than an invasion and more of an evacuation plan. So please do not send your dog to kill my daughter, Queen Shagota pleaded. Ironically, Naruto would treat Baskerville like a pet, which scared everyone because the gigantic monster dog found itself attached to Naruto as close friend than a pet and master sort of relationship. So it was weird to see the two play ball together. But do you know who wasn't playing ball? Circe. Circe was punished and bound to a cage and threatened to be put into a kennel if she tried feeding anyone her cooking if it turned people into pigs, which she tried at least once before the kennel was built. Now the witch was under constant watch and threat of being locked up like a dog if she did it again. Some did suggest exiling Circe, but Naruto and Wendy were against it. Not because they cared, but because they were afraid Circe would keep turning people into pigs again. Any happiness Circe felt was suddenly gone. She really thought everyone forgave her and cared about her as a person. I thought you cared, Circe screamed that day as she sobbed onto Naruto's chest. Somehow all the tears gave him low resistance against water. It makes Naruto wonder how weak he became when he turned into a monster. However, the least of their concerns is Circe crying and banging her arms onto Naruto's chest. Today Circe still cried. Am I that bad of a witch? She asked. Naruto's sweat dropped. Pretty much, he said bluntly. So mean. Circe whined as she banged her fists onto Naruto again. As mentioned, Circe whining about her abuse or lack of love wasn't the problem. It was the sudden presence of a large creature that was flying in the sky, with everyone hanging on as the wings of the creature created large waves of wind that sent them flying. Is that a bird? Naruto asked as he looked up at the sky. Though feathery, it was not a bird. Grandini. Wendy asked as she ran towards the dragon. The dragon itself looked at Wendy as it descended down and landed. Wendy's excitement blinded her until she came too close and noticed the design of the dragon. Unlike Grandini, this dragon had a different shaped head and horns on the side of its head. Grandini had no horns and her scales looked like feathers, but they were real scales. Unlike the greenish-looking dragon, Grandini herself had a more silver design and was a lot bigger according to Wendy's memory. "You're not Grandini," Wendy said, now sounding sad. "Wendy, get away from it," Carla yelled. However, the dragon didn't attack Wendy, nor did it perceive her as a threat. Instead, it was surrounded by a bright silver flash before shrinking down into a girl around Wendy's size, with silver hair and purple highlights, blue slitted eyes, and the overall appearance of a small child. The girl also didn't look happy as she pointed at Wendy. "I smell Grandini on you. Give her back now," the girl demanded. "You know my mama?" Wendy asked. Mama?" the girl asked, sounding confused. "Yay, Grandini raised me since I was a baby. Do you know where she is?" Wendy asked, sounding hopeful. The girl's confidence fell apart. "No, I was hoping she was with you," she said, sounding sad. Then Naruto arrived. "Wendy, what is going on?" he asked. Later, Naruto and Wendy's shared house. Due to being close, Wendy doesn't like sleeping away from her brother figure. So she shares the same home and often sleeps in the same bed to stay warm. With that, Wendy invited the little girl to their shared house to explain herself. "So your name is Kanna?" Naruto asked as he gave both girls a cup of tea. Kanna nodded. "I was looking for my big sister Grandini, but I lost her. So I smelled her on Wendy and thought she stole her," she said. Wendy looked sad. "I'm sorry, Kanna, but I haven't seen Mama for over a year. Big brother and I have tried looking for her but haven't found anything," she replied. Wendy slumped down at the table. "Sorry for accusing you, Wendy," she said so apologetically. "It's okay, Kanna," Wendy said, making Kanna smile. "Hey, if you've been looking for your sister, where have you been staying?" Naruto asked before hearing Kanna's stomach grumble. "Nowhere then," he asked, seeing Kanna blush. "I see, if you want, you can stay here until we find Grandini," Naruto said as Kanna perked up. "Can I?" Kanna asked. "Yes, you can be my big sister," Wendy said, hugging Kanna. "Wendy, that would actually make Kanna your aunt," Naruto said, correcting her. Sister. Both girls ignored Naruto and his technicalities. As the two planned out their stay at the hut, Circe came in with a few pigs to deliver food. "I think it's time to celebrate with a great meal. Who wants to go first?" Circe asked, seemingly too excited. "Not me," Kanna spoke up quickly. Kanna glared at Circe, who looked nervous. "It smells like nasty potions. She's probably trying to poison us," she said, pointing at Circe accusingly. Circe panicked. I am doing no such thing," she said nervously. Kanna glared harder at her. "Lies," she yelled. Then Naruto got in front of Circe's face. "You were planning on turning us into pigs, weren't you?" he asked as his eyes twitched. Circe blushed as she tried to step back. "Of course not. In fact, I need to do some shopping after." Naruto grabbed her by the arm. "You are not going anywhere," Naruto said, making her nervous. Then he got this creepy smile on his face. "In fact, I think you should try your own cooking," he said as Circe paled. "Please." "No," Circe whispered. Naruto grabbed a plate and lifted Circe over his shoulder. "No can do. I think it's about time you learn how it feels," he told her. Circe tried to kick her way out. "I don't want it. Please let me go," she pleaded. "I'll be right back," Naruto said before locking himself and Circe in the next room over. Kanna and Wendy looked at each other as they heard the door lock. "What do you think is going to happen?" Kanna asked. Wendy giggled. "Circe is getting punished again," she answered. Welcome back, guys, to another video. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share this video. Let's get started. Chapter 3 Circe's dinner. The group arrived and took their seats, some more eager than others to accept free food and shelter for the night. Though some, like Logan and Panther Lily, were very suspicious, almost as if this was one of those heartwarming moments you see in a movie or find in a book. Then you learn that the host of the dinner is a cannibal or satanic worshipper. For now, those theories were far-fetched, but that didn't mean Circe was already trustworthy. "Welcome all, it's been a while since I've had guests, so I hope you all enjoy your stay," Circe said in a friendly manner. "Thank you, Miss Circe," Wendy said happily, trusting the woman. You are welcome, my little piglet, Circe said gratefully. The pink-haired woman reached Wendy's head, hoping to give the adorable little girl a little pat on the head, only to find Naruto's hand grabbing her. Circe looked surprised but didn't feel hurt or hostile. For some reason Naruto grabbed her, but it appeared to be out of reflex, yet there was no sign of hostility. Sorry about that. I guess I get nervous around pretty girls, Naruto said as he gently removed his hand. The grab was out of reflex, but Naruto managed to stop his hand, as if it were alive, which kind of confused him since he thinks that as a human, his whole body is alive. Was that instinct? Naruto mentally asked himself. Answer: the instinct you felt is actually a part of the passive skill, spider sense. Any and all negative intention directed at you will be immediately detected. Great Sage said to him. So I can tell who's good or bad? Naruto mentally asked. Answer: morality will not be taken into account. By restraining the creature known as Kuwabai no Yoko, you have mixed its sensory with your instinct as a spider. You will only detect negativity and only react towards danger. Great Sage answered. As Naruto communicated with Great Sage, Circe couldn't help but blush at the compliment. Such a sweet comment. Though I wish older men had the same, Circe said out of appreciation. With that, everyone started digging into their food, but not without a few people looking cautious. Like Logan subtly smelling his food as he had the nose of a hound, Kurt took a bit longer to prepare and Panther Lily pretended to drop his fork twice. Meanwhile Naruto extended his arm and revealed a sort of black limb that moved between Logan and Panther Lily. The food's great. I trust her completely, Naruto said from his side. Meanwhile the limb turned into a mouth. I don't trust her, the voice of Naruto whispered.